Good morning. Happy New Year. Welcome to another Monday morning webinar. I'm Sandra Madaffrey. For those who don't know me, from Sandra Madaffrey Training and Mentoring and the Institute of Oneness Integration. I decided to start 2021 with running the 7 Steps to Living with Intention over the next 7 weeks. And there's a specific reason why I did this, is because not only because people all want to evaluate and look back, and we tend to reflect on what's been in the past, but one of these steps that, the first step to the 7 Steps to Living with Intention, which is evaluating, we should be doing this on a regular basis anyway, not just at the end of the year. And this is something that tends to happen with people. We begin the year on a real big high. We all want new things, exciting things to happen. And then what happens is we go along throughout the year, we forget about these amazing goals and things that we set at the beginning of the year, and we tend to fall a little bit flat. And the first step, which is all about evaluating, welcome to everyone who's on here. I'm just about to share the screen. The first step to staying motivated, to being able to have success, is that you need to evaluate what's happening every single week. This is something that I do not only sometimes on a weekly basis, but also sometimes on a daily basis. Because what I like to do, if is sit here at the end of my working day or first thing in the morning and have a think about what happened yesterday, and go through the steps which I'm going to take you through today. And also, of course, each week I do the same thing. Every Sunday night is what I call my evaluation evening. And also I do this on a monthly base, quarterly base, and absolutely on a yearly basis. It's really important that we do evaluate what's going on and not just set goals and have those and think that that's it, that's the only way things can happen, and never ever look at those goals again. For true success, what I have found in the last 4 or 5 years of my life, since I started doing what I do now in my day job and absolutely love it and teach all my clients, is that you need to take stock, that's the old-fashioned word for it, or evaluate, have a look at what is actually going on so that you know to take the next step. So let's share the screen. For anyone who is new here, I do have a chat box. Please say hello to everyone who's here. I'm going to start the slideshow. Here we go. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you here. So as I was saying, I'm going to go through the number one of the first steps, number 1 step of the Leading with Intention 7 steps, which is evaluating. And you need to, like I said, it is so important to know not only where you're at, but also how you've gone. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Naomi. Happy New Year to everyone. Absolutely. So that you can see if you need to pivot. One of the biggest things that happened in 2020 was that the people who survived through 2020, who grew their business, who created the businesses that they wanted or kept going, were the ones that were able to take stock immediately, evaluate, pivot, and evaluating on an ongoing basis, because you needed to know what was working and what wasn't. So when March of 2020 hit, we all started to pivot, and it was important that you kept evaluating what worked, what didn't. So let's have a look at what we need to have a look at. So one of the first things that you need to do when you evaluate is, where are you right now? And you need to do this really without any prejudice. Okay, so you need to sit down and say, this is where I am right now. This is what worked, what didn't work. This is what I didn't do. This is what I should have done. And again, I say, without prejudice or judgment. This is not a process of saying, oh, I'm such a terrible business owner, because then we start getting into your own limiting beliefs and, oh, I do everything wrong. All that sort of stuff gets into shame. This is not about that. Evaluating is about sitting down and actually really honestly being honest with yourself and saying, you know what, this is what happened yesterday, last week, last month, last year. But you know what? The reason why that happened was because I don't like to do that, or the reason why that happened is because I do like to do that, or the reason why that happened is because it's not something that, you know, I decided to put my priorities towards. Okay, so evaluating is just about getting a very, very, very clear picture in your head of where you are right now. And in business, you need to be on top of everything all the time. I have been in business basically for myself in odd jobs and little things that I used to do for myself. Started 15 years old selling Avon. And it is something that you constantly need to do, is you need to know what you are doing, where you're at, and you need to stay on top of it, because things change instantly. And the funny thing is, now with social media, it changes so fast that if you're not constantly on the ball of understanding where you are, what figures are working, what things are working for you in your business and what aren't, you will go, you know, you could be a couple of months down the track and all of a sudden go, oh my God, what happened there? Okay, so just to give you another example of this, I currently employed a social media ads expert, and this person is constantly evaluating on a daily basis. And that's why it is so important as a business owner that you are sitting down and evaluating things on a daily basis, I'm going to say, to understand whether things are working or not, or whether you need to tweak things. And one of the other things that business owners do is that they throw themselves into doing 100 different things at once, and then they don't know where the results are coming from. So part of the evaluation process is that you need to have some background checkpoints. So in other words, if you're doing clarity calls or brainstorming calls, ask people, where are they finding you, so that you know what social media platforms are working for you. Ask people, you know what areas do they live in, because then you understand a little bit more about the geographic of the sort of people you're attracting. So you need to constantly be looking at whether the things you are doing are working or not. Okay, and this needs to be done quite regularly, or else you will find yourself, imagine if my ad person didn't look at my ad on a daily basis, and 2 months down the track we've spent thousands of dollars on ads, and all of a sudden realize that there's a particular ad that people aren't responding to. So really, really important. So why do you need to know where you are right now? I've given you lots of reasons, but also too, because you cannot move forward unless you know where you are. Okay, if you want to go from A to B, you need to know where A is, so that you can then find where B is and find that destination to get there. Okay, so think of it like a GPS. I love to use that GPS analogy, because if you don't know where you are, how do you know where to go? And as I said, very important, no judgment. This is not for you to say, oh, I'm such a terrible person because I didn't get this right, or I didn't do this. This is about understanding what's going on for you. And you know what? Sometimes when you evaluate, there are things that you don't do because you don't like them, and that's okay. And that's when you start looking at things like outsourcing, etc. Okay, so here's some of the things that you need to know your numbers about. Start paying attention to your costs. As an ex-bookkeeper, this is one thing that I found that clients never looked at. Now, because I am an ex-bookkeeper, we differentiate in our books the difference between costs, the costs that are directly related to you making the sale, and expenses. So an example of that, advertising, staff, any time that you spend, and yes, even if you are in a position where you're not paying yourself at the moment, your time is money. So what is the cost, the direct cost in making those sales? Really, really important for you to know that. and keep your figures and your numbers. You need to know what it's costing you and if you are turning over enough sales to keep these costs going. So for instance, if I was running an ad and the ad was costing me $2,000 a month, I need to know with that ad that I'm getting a rate of return. And if I'm not, I need to have a look at whether it is effective or what I could do instead. Okay, I'm just going to move my camera for a minute, guys. I've just got it in the way of, I'm just going to put it over here. And the other thing is, you need to also have a look at things that don't have a monetary cost to them. So for instance, the effectiveness of your social media posts. You know, we're constantly, me and my team are constantly having a look at what groups are working for us, what groups are not working for us, what sort of posts work for us, what sort of posts don't look for us. So you need to keep on top of those things. Emails are the same, pictures that you use. People, there are some pictures that people respond to. One of the biggest things that we have found is that you put pictures of yourself, people tend to respond to those a lot more. The content that you're using, how are people responding? So the other thing that I want to really discuss, which is really important, when I speak to my VIP clients that are in my Passion to Profit program, we run things on a rotation. So we don't do everything at once. So we'll tweak something and we'll look at it for about 3 to 4 weeks and have a look at what difference that has made to what's going on in their business. If you don't do that, if you try and implement everything at once, and this is one of the big mistakes people make, you won't know if you haven't got really good systems to see what works and what doesn't. You will not know which one of all those things that you have implemented is the one working. Now, I know there's quite a few people watching this, guys. Please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you which of these you need to sort of do, or which of these things you haven't done that you're going to implement this week. So just let me know, pop it in the chat box. I'd love to hear. Okay, so once you've got all that evaluation done, once you sit down and you really evaluate where you're at, what's happened, where your figures are at, what sort of posts that are working, what sort of posts that aren't working, all those sorts of things that you need that are important. You need to know what worked and keep doing more of that. And that's why it's so important. If you, start doing emails and start doing all this new content and new pictures and everything all at once, one of the things that happens is you don't know what's working. So you either need a really good system to be able to capture that data or that information, or you need to do it really slowly. Or the other thing is to ask people, how did you find me? It's very easy, of course, if you put up a piece of content, a post, and people, you get lots of likes, people like that. But, other things like when people are coming through into your email list or people are coming through into your groups, how are they finding you? What worked? And you keep doing more of the same. So really, really important. That's the first thing you need to do. And I do that basically, this one here on a weekly basis. I evaluate everything that I've done during the week and have a look at what happened for me during the week. And anything that worked, I keep doing it. Why would you stop something that isn't broken? But the one thing that I want to tell you to be really careful about here, especially on social media, is what worked yesterday doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work tomorrow. If you are not able to fund a social media expert, is there a simpler way of doing your social media? Yeah, absolutely there is. Carolyn, are you talking about ads or are you talking about posts? What you should be doing is jumping on to social media and doing at least 3 live posts for yourself a day, jumping in and being quite active in 3 groups, and then you keeping a check of what's going on in those groups. When it comes to advertising, I highly do not recommend that anyone does any Facebook advertising or anything like that of any kind until you have the funds to do it. Okay, anyone who is a ads expert will tell you that you need to have already a well-established business to do ads. I highly do not recommend boosting your posts either. It just does not seem to work. Now, so what I will do is organic reach, and the reason why you do that is because before you start to run ads and things like that, is that you need to make sure you know what portions of your content works, what posts works, what your clients want. Yes, exactly. Oh, just read that, Tracy. Absolutely. You need to know your target audience. So you need to be doing everything organically first. And once you know, and this is why you need to evaluate, once you know that people are responding to certain posts, certain pictures, certain content, you've got your target audience, you know what your target audience likes, what they sort of the search words that they have, all those sorts of things. That's when you start doing your ads. So you cannot start doing any of that until you do it all organically first. Jump into a few groups where you believe your target audience is and see what they respond to. Once you start doing all of that, people will organically start responding to you. You know it works, and then you'll be making the funds that you need to then be able to outsource to someone else. But consistency is key, and keeping an eye on what you do. There are some groups, and I have heard people say on social media that you know, there are some groups with, you know, you should only be posting groups with thousands of people, but not necessarily the case. You have to find your own target audience, and your target audience might be on any one of the social media platforms. So you need to spend a little bit of time, I say, at the beginning of your journey in business, a couple of hours a day, maybe an hour in the morning, put it into your planner, an hour in the middle of the day and an hour at night if you want to, and posting and then going back and responding to people who have posted, and also checking that your posts are what your target audience wants. So big mistake for people that I've seen that have gone straight into paid ads. You need to know what your target audience is looking for and what sort of posts they respond to and where your target audience actually is, because we've all got different target audience and they could be on any platform on social media. So all do it organically. Any business owner who says, I haven't got time for this, you're doing yourself a massive disservice, because you need, it's all about social media these days, and you need to spend a little bit of time every day of your work day getting onto these platforms and finding out where your audience is. Well worth it once you know what your audience, who your audience is, what they want, how they respond, and where to find them. Then the business starts to organically grow, and then you can have a look at hiring experts. I hope that answered your questions there. The other thing, and probably one of the most important things, is you need to find out what's not working. I have seen so many people doing stuff. I hear it all the time. People that have run ads themselves through social media, spending thousands of dollars, and I say to them, so how many sales are you getting from those ads? And they don't know. And then when I say to them, okay, well, you're going to need to start asking, where are the sales coming from? Put it on your pro forma form when someone signs up or buys a product. And then they find out that a lot of their sales are coming organically. Now, at the moment, I'm running ads and I'm doing organic at the same time. I ask people, how did you find me? Okay, and so I know where people are coming from. In fact, I'm also asking people, if they say they found me on Facebook, where on Facebook? Off my page, in a group. And the other day I spoke to a lady who came from organic marketing inside a group on a promotion day. So you need to know. So why is it so important? Because if something isn't working, you need to stop. You need to stop putting money into it, and you need to stop putting time into it and doing something different, testing something different. Business is all about testing and measuring. So if you cannot evaluate and you cannot measure, you're going to find yourself getting into a bit of strife. Okay? Have a look at the sort of things. Sometimes there are things that sort of have worked, bit of a response, but not as much as what I like to. And those things you begin to tweak. So again, what can you do that's slightly different? If you know exactly what works and what doesn't, and you've got some things that are sort of not quite there, then you can tweak them around and put a little bit more of what's working into them. And again, it's all about testing and measuring. And the seventh step to living and leading with intention is flexibility. And this is so important too. So tweaking is always all about the flexibility of what can I do instead? Okay. One of the great things, and this is real old school stuff, is a SWOT analysis. It is really a good idea. At least, I'm going to say at least once a quarter to do an old-fashioned SWOT analysis. Really, really important for yourself. And I use this in a slightly different way with my clients, but I get them to always do a SWOT analysis on themselves and on their businesses as well. Okay. And the first thing you do in a SWOT analysis is have a look at your strengths. Have a look at your strengths as a business owner and have a look at the business's strengths. So what sort of advantages, what sort of resources do you have? What makes you unique? What makes you different? And you play on those strengths, okay? You play on all the things that you like to do. And you start building those up. The other one is you look at your weaknesses. What things don't you like to do? What things don't you do well? Okay, now I say it all the time. I am not great at writing things, but I love to speak. You can see me now. Love talking. Could talk, the ears off anyone. So why would I sit down and try and write things out when I'm not good at it? I'm better off talking it out and then having someone go over the content once it's been transcribed. So if anyone is after something, there's to transcribe what you say, there is an app called Otter. And that's really, really great. You can talk into it and it actually prints out everything that you've said. And if you're not very good like me at writing or making coherent sense of things, you can actually give that to someone. But if you can't afford to do that at the moment, that's okay. It's printed out for you. Go through it, read it over and over again. So what are your weaknesses? What are your business's weaknesses? What disadvantages do you have? And you know what? The great thing about looking at, I don't believe there's any such things as weaknesses or disadvantages. I think it allows you to see an opportunity to where you can actually tweak or do things a little bit different. Okay. The next thing is what opportunities? What opportunities can you bring to the market, to your target audience? What opportunities can you give them? What opportunities do you have in your business? How can you improve? How can you do things slightly different? Where is there a gap in the market? One of the things that I never realized was the incredible opportunities that came with social media. And that was definitely realized in 2020. It was just amazing. And now quite a few of my programs are moving onto the online space, which is something that I never did before. And the other one is threats. Now, threats it's all about risk analysis. And one of the things, challenges. Yeah, challenges is a great word for them too. So you don't have to call them these words here. I actually don't call them these words here either for my clients, but because I wanted to show you that it was based on a SWOT analysis. This is what the old-fashioned business schools used to teach. So you need to have a risk analysis. One of the biggest things that I find with business owners is that they don't sit and think about, especially when you outsource. Now, this is really important. And one of my clients asked me about this the other day. As a business owner and having worked as a business strategist for years before we even had social media, One of the things I used to say to all my clients is you need to know how to do everything in your business first. Because if you outsource and something goes wrong, that person leaves or that person gets sick, you need to be able to take over. So what sort of challenges, threats, obstacles are in your way? Okay, so really well worth doing this. Well worth doing this before you set any goals. Next week, I'm going to go through the step 2 to leading with intention, which is about setting goals. But before you can even think, and this is where people get it so wrong, before you can even think about setting some goals, you need to analyze or evaluate, where am I right now in my business? And then when you can identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, or what's working, what's not working, and what you need to tweak, and you've got all those figures, then you can make precise goals. Then you can set precise steps to get to those goals. Because a goal is just an outcome and you need to step it out. But without knowing exactly where you are, you cannot put the stepping stones in place to get to that other end. And that is where people make mistakes. I see it all the time. You know, this year I want to make 100K in my business. Great. How are we going to do it? Oh, I'm just going to get on social media and do 3 posts a week. No, well, you need to know, how are you going to draw your clients in? Are you going to have programs? Are you going to do workshops? You're going to have live trainings? How are you going to get that 100 grand that year? So you need to know where you are, and then to be able to move into those little steps of getting that 100 grand and all the, you know, little things that you're going to do. You need to see where you are now. And one of the biggest mistakes I see on social media is people putting out programs and they have a very small organic audience, and then they wonder why they can't fill their programs. I've spoken about it. It's on YouTube. There is a video about funnels and how to fill your funnels. You need to have quite a huge organic audience if you want to fill, you know, put bums on seats, so to speak, if you want to fill your programs. So unless you have a look at that and you analyze that first, there's no point making those goals unless you know that you can fill them. So analyze where you're at, analyze what's happening for you. And once you know, you say, I want 10 people in a particular group coaching program, unless you start, you know, advertising or networking or whatever it is that it works for you that you want to do, how are you going to get those people to come to your programs? And this is what's so important, that you must do this step first before anything else. A lot of people do, you know, and I'm really into manifesting, but with the manifesting also comes the steps that you need to take to do it. And unless you know where you're at, what you need to do next, what are the steps, what's working on a constant basis. You can't then just say, well, I'm going to do 3 live videos a week and everyone's going to come along and I'm going to get 4,000 friends and everyone's going to jump into my program. You need to evaluate what's working on an ongoing basis. So thank you so much, guys. My 30 minutes is up. I try not to go overtime with this. As I say every week, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook, I know back to front now. Instagram's still getting to know. LinkedIn, starting to learn a lot more, and starting to learn a lot more about YouTube, which I'm absolutely enjoying. I actually do love social media. I do love these platforms. I do embrace what they can do for you. So if anyone would like to know more about how I can help you or would like to jump on a brainstorming session with me, I do 30-minute brainstorming sessions. They are for new clients, people that have not had brainstorming sessions with me before. If you want me to have a look at what might be one of the problems that's not quite working for you, please let me know. you can just contact me at admin@sandramadaffrey.com.au or find me on one of the social media platforms. I do answer your private messages, and I'm going to just say this because someone asked me the other day. Yes, I answer the private messages, not my team. So it's important to me that I know. Pleasure, Tracy. It was lovely to have you here this morning. So learning so much from you. Appreciate your experience. My pleasure, Trevor. I'm really glad that you are learning. So if anyone wants to know more, if you want me to have a look at, have a 30-minute brainstorming session with me, we have a really, really laser focused look at what something that you can implement immediately to take you to the next level. If you're wanting to, or to know a little bit more about that, reach out, or you can book a session on my website, which is just my name. Everything can be found under my name. And the other thing I wanted to say, guys, is I do have a mentoring program where I have had some incredible success. I've got a lady in there that started with me in December who has been a life coach for 3 years. She's been qualified and has now we've created a program together, and has now actually got 2 of her clarity calls with 2 clients tomorrow, the first 2 ever after 3 years. So if you want to know a little bit more about how I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to help you. We always go further together, and we all need some help too, including myself. I also have a mentor that helps me along. Thank you for watching, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week at 10 a.m. as well. Have a great, great, great week, and Happy New Year, guys. 2021. Let's do it. Let's make every year better. All you can ask for is that you make the most of every year. So let's make the most of 2020 as well. 2021. 2020's gone. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now. I'll see you all next week.